One potential problem with the Ford Maverick is that it's really small. So the question today is it actually too small? Is the Ford Maverick not that useful because it simply can't hold enough people and stuff to really be a truck or really be a vehicle worth using? Let's talk about it. So in my experience driving and living with a Ford Maverick for a while, two different family members of mine actually have Mavericks, so I've had extensive time with them, and I've done some tests on how well like my construction tools and things fit in the back of a Maverick. What's the consensus? Number one, as a people mover, I'm shocked at how useful it is despite its small footprint. Because A, I'm a tall person, B, I have kids need car seats. All of that seems to work. And I don't know the witchcraft that Ford put into the interior packaging of this thing to make it something that actually works for that. But hey, let's not argue with it if it works, right? I think the amazing thing is that as a 6'5" person, I can drive in this truck comfortably without the driver's seat even pushed all the way back. I made a whole video on YouTube under my Brendan Drives YouTube channel where I tested the interior capacity of this truck as a guy who has a couple of kids, who has a wife, and in theory, when my truck finally comes in sometime, then the four of us will all go somewhere together and we will all have to fit. And so it was a real concern of mine when I realized that we have car seats and that the kids have to be in there with us, because I went, shoot, now I've ordered this vehicle. I've been waiting 8 months for it. Can this even work? Granted, if you had two rearward facing car seats, it wouldn't really work. But as long as at least one of them is forward facing, you're good. You'll figure it out. It'll work. There's different configurations depending on your needs and your wants, but it will 100% work. And you can watch my video to see that. But the powerful thing for me is that not only do you have an interior cabin size that's adequate, that fits people, and you've got options inside there too, like storage underneath the seats and stuff, it's also that it's a truck. So you have bed space. And I think that's probably the biggest sticking point for people, because it's obvious at first glance when you sit inside, you go, okay, there's adequate space here. Like, we can figure this out. In fact, there's even more rear legroom in a Maverick than there is in my 2013 F-150 extended cab truck. So if you've got like 4 adults to go somewhere, there's even more space in the Maverick, and you can feel that immediately. What we don't feel as quickly is the volume in the bed. And so I wanted to also test that, because as someone who's a construction professional, who's out on job sites, who's carrying tools, who's often carrying large materials. Like the other day I bought a 20-foot ladder, and I went, would this have fit my Maverick someday when it comes? I honestly don't know. I hope it would, but I honestly don't know. I was thankful that day to have this truck instead, because I have a 6-foot long bed. The Maverick's bed is only 4'6" or so. It's short. It is a stubby little short thing, and it's not as tall as a Ford F-150 bed either. And so that volume of the inside of the bed, where you can safely stash your stuff, I think is a sticking point for people. So the test that I wanted to do was, let me show up at my parents' house, grab my dad's Maverick, park it next to my F-150, and literally just take all the tools I currently have and throw them in the back of the Maverick and see if they fit. This is as real a world test as I can conceive, because this is literally what I have on me. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to like fake it and bring every tool that I ever had. I want the actual daily use of the tools I have with me. So I did this. I loaded it up. I was shocked to find that there was absolutely no problem whatsoever fitting them all. Now, that depends on you and your trade and your needs and what you carry and all that stuff. I get it. It definitely depends person to person. But in my layman's experience, just watching people, most of us who have trucks aren't in construction. We aren't using them to haul tools and materials around every day. It's kind of a seldom thing that we do this. And so what my plan is to probably just keep the truck as is as soon as I get it. And then if the circumstances arise that are like, man, I keep finding myself needing to haul 10-foot long material or 12-foot long material, and this truck simply is not safe to put it in the back and have it stick out of there, then I would either entertain renting a vehicle whenever I need something bigger, or just getting a ladder rack or something that goes over the top of the vehicle. The only reason I'm not hyped on the ladder rack right off the bat is that it's expensive and it decreases your mileage every day. So even though you might only use it like a couple times a month, every day you're paying for it continually because of the added wind resistance. So I'm not like super stoked about that idea. I think the handiness would be great, and I would love that. But functionally, I'm getting a hybrid. I'm trying to get 45 miles per gallon. Why would I ruin that by putting a ladder rack on the top? So we'll see what has to happen there. But so far, I'm shocked that I don't carry more large material. I mean, I definitely get 8-foot long sections of lumber and plywood, and that's generally the biggest stuff that I get. And in those instances, the Maverick should also still suffice. I may have to take some tools out of the bed and put them inside, but that's a change that I think we can all live with, instead of just leaving them all in the bed and putting 4x8 sheets of plywood on top. Take the tools out, put them inside the bed, or put them inside the cab, I mean. It's not the end of the world. So as far as my 2 initial video tests that are on YouTube, it passes. And the weird thing is that it's even a bigger truck overall on the interior side as far as available space. We're talking leg room, head room, shoulder room, that kind of stuff. The Maverick does better than the Ranger. And the Ranger's a bigger truck. And so what I really want to do next is try and investigate what the interior volume of this new revised schnazzy 2022 Ranger is, because that's a real competitor to me. You know, if I can actually get my hands on a Ranger instead of waiting for forever for a Maverick, and if the Ranger is actually bigger, then I would be pretty tempted, because I'm a big person. I do have to haul big stuff, so maybe it's kind of a nice middle ground. We'll see. I'm still in the process of doing that research and comparing it side by side to the Maverick, but it seems at first glance that there's not a huge difference in the overall size. So if I can, I'll pull it up here as we're talking here in this podcast, and I'll just see if I can compare it like literally live with you. But whenever I've sat in Rangers in the past, I don't know about you, they are not that spacious, frankly, despite being a much bigger truck than a Maverick, at least on the outside. On the inside, not so much. And the funny thing to me overall when all of these tests is just how small my darn F-150 is. I'm recording this right now inside it, and the kids' car seats that are in here are literally touching the center console, the back of my seat, the back of the passenger seat, and it's like, how is this so darn small in here? This is a giant truck. And yeah, we have good space left to right. I've got plenty of leg room, but it's not significantly noticeably better than the Maverick. In terms of what does that do for you? Okay, so let's say I have 2 more inches of shoulder space and more a deep dash. So what? I'm not more comfortable. I'm not better equipped to drive. It doesn't haul more stuff. It's just bigger. I'm just in a bigger bubble. So, all right, enough of that. The real question is, the Maverick's closest competitor, I think, is either the Ranger or the Tacoma, because nobody likes the Hyundai Santa Fe. Sorry. So let's compare the interior volume and dimensions of the Maverick versus the new revised, like literally just came out, 2024 Ford Ranger. So I want to know, the main thing is the interior dimensions and the headroom and legroom in the front and rear. And so this website that I found doesn't have overall volume, but it does have headroom and legroom. So, drum roll please. 2024 Ford Ranger interior headroom in the front, 39.8 inches. 39.8. Headroom in the front of a Maverick, 40.3. Guys, Ford, what is happening? How do you have more headroom in the little Maverick? The packaging in the Ranger is just so bad. Wow. So it's a half an inch bigger in the Maverick. Now let's say legroom. Legroom in the front of the Ranger is 38.2 inches. Legroom in front of the driver's seat of the Maverick, 42.8. So that's like 3.5 inches more in the Maverick. I just cannot wrap my mind around this. How is a smaller truck bigger on the inside? Wow. I don't understand it. I can't justify it in any logical way. Like, just because the Ranger is bigger, I would think it had to have more volume. But the reality is that it's not like it's got a V8 taking up space. It's not like it's got some special, game-changing, awesome winning feature that we're all going to put up with and go, yeah, it's got less space, but because of that one thing, we'll put up with it. No, there's nothing that great about it over and above a Maverick, except the person who I'm sure is screaming at their phone or their radio or whatever right now saying, yeah, well, unless I need to carry a big payload or tow something significant, the Ranger's just more capable in that like hardcore truck stuff. And in that category, you're totally right. I admit defeat there. There's no doubt about that. If you need to haul something that's heavier than what the Maverick can do, you're stuck. Weirdly, you would think that for me as a construction professional, as a construction superintendent, I would be the one testing out that kind of stuff. Hauling a trailer, lots of payload, whatever. I have never had a situation where my F-150 on a job site needed to do more than maybe a few hundred pounds of payload. I've never had to haul a trailer with it for anything professional. And so weirdly, I thought I would disprove the use case of the Maverick, and if anything, I've only confirmed it. So if you want to hold this against me as confirmation bias of my decision to already order a Maverick, that's also fine. But I feel like so far I'm just not compelled to make the jump to the Ranger. I'm literally getting more horsepower and yeah, more truck kind of capacity, but I'm getting way worse mileage. I'm getting a smaller interior volume, and I'm paying at least $10,000 more. You know what I configured yesterday was a 2024 Ranger XLT. I went to their build and price website, and I said, what if we just get like a very mid-level Ranger? So not a Raptor, not a Lariat, nothing fancy. I will get four-wheel drive, and I'll get power seats. That's it. Those are my two options. Guess how much that truck was? Did you guess? In the 40s, because you should have. $44,000 for that truck. Can you imagine a basic XLT with two options checked and it's 44 grand? How is that possible? I don't understand the value proposition of the Maverick. And I know all vehicles are more expensive. The F-150 is super expensive. I mean, you can almost not get away with an F-150 without spending in the 50s. But I would rather get the most stripped down F-150 possible and probably also pay 44 than to get some mid-level Ranger and have it be this disappointing small truck that doesn't actually do things as well as either a Maverick or an F-150. It's like the reverse effect of, oh, this bowl of porridge is too cold, this bowl of porridge is too hot, this one in the middle is just right. The fact that the Ranger is the middle truck somehow makes it the worst. It's not the best because it's in the middle, it's actually the worst. So I don't really understand why that is. Ford, if you're ever listening to this, I need you to comment and say we're restricted by the platform or we have some other kind of thing that doesn't make it work for us. But I literally can't imagine anyone needing a Ranger over a Maverick. I can understand saying that you need an F-150, but needing a Ranger doesn't make sense to me. So just for funsies, as I'm talking here, I went to the F-150 build and price configurator deal, got a base model truck. I chose a full four-door truck, so not mine that's extended cab. This is 4 full-size doors, Super Crew. Got one option, an EcoBoost engine, so I don't have that naturally aspirated 3.3-liter V6 because that's a dog. So that's all it is, the most base level truck you can get, 44 grand. I don't know anybody who would take the Ranger over this truck for the same exact money, because I'll bet you've got more comfort, more truck capacity, more of everything. So if more is your goal, the F-150 is where to go. If economy, if spending not as much money, if getting good mileage is your goal, I think the Maverick is still king for now. So overall, to answer the question, is the Ford Maverick too small? I say no. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.